Can you imagine you're a parent and your son leaves the house and your son comes back with a brutal operation?
Look, I don't like this. I don't like to admit this. I don't like that this is a fact of life.
I better win, or you're going to have problems like we've never had. We may have no country left. It may be our last election. You want to know the truth? People have said that. This may be our last election. You got to get out and vote.
First of all, nobody is saying that except you, and the only reason is because it's gonna be your last election, especially after what happened during this insane speech. Because, geez, folks, Dementia Don's mental decline was on full display at his off-the-rails rally in Wisconsin today. And it got so bad that not only did he blunder over and over again, mixing up words, going on tangents, showing he knows nothing about economics, but he also made an incredibly untimely and potentially catastrophic mistake late into his hate speech that left even his crowd of fervent MAGA supporters stunned silent. And even before that devastating and distasteful remark that clearly didn't sit well with his audience, this rally was already off to an insane start.
Now, Alphonse Capone led a very vicious, violent life, but according to the statistics, I am a much worse person than Alphonse Capone.
With him claiming the statistics show he's much worse than Al Capone to a single laugh. But fret not, folks, the good old Hannibal Lecter wasn't far behind.
And then the press, when I say Dr. Hannibal Lecter, the press says, oh, why did he mention that? They're wise guys back there, just wise guys. They say he rambled and started talking about Hannibal Lecter. What does that have to do? That's a representative of people that are coming into our country. Dr. Hannibal Lecter, he will have you for dinner. You know that? He will have you for dinner.
With him trying to retroactively make his rambling make sense while again attacking the free press and somehow making himself seem even worse than the first time he brought it up, which was followed quickly by this moment where his brain was clearly on the fritz.
They wanted to indict senators to find out what the hell is going on. Great innocent people, great patriots have been indicted by Fani and her boyfriend, and it's a disgrace. You had people that are in their 80s. Would you sign here? You know, Thomas Jefferson did the same kind of things. Alexander Hamilton, lots of people all throughout the ages. Hillary Clinton wouldn't acknowledge the election. All of these senators like Shifty Schiff, can you imagine? Shifty Adam Schiff, all of them, they disputed the 2016 election. It's okay for them to do it. But if we do it, it's a serious, serious crime. These people are sick. We got to get them the hell out of there. We have to win this election.
The only one sick on that stage is Donald Trump himself, and it's in his head. Because I don't even think Trump himself knew what he was saying there. God knows nobody in that crowd was following a damn thing he said. I mean, hell, the dumbass even fell for Putin yet again trolling our elections.
I knew Putin. I knew him well. And, you know, he endorsed, I don't know if you saw the other day, he endorsed Kamala. He endorsed Kamala. I was very offended by that. I wonder why he endorsed Kamala. No, he's a chess player. Was it done with a smile, Ron? Was it done with a smile? I think it was done maybe with a smile. I don't know. Who the hell knows? Nobody's going to figure it out. They're about 19 steps ahead of us. But this whole Russia thing, nobody was tougher on Russia in history than Trump. And the person that knows that better than anyone is President Vladimir Putin. He knows it better than anyone.
And just some quick context on that before we get to Trump's fatal error from this rally. Aside from him again praising Putin and purposefully mispronouncing Kamala Harris's name, he's referring to Vladimir Putin trolling the US presidential race with a quote endorsement of Kamala Harris from this week, where Putin raised eyebrows when he expressed support for Vice President Harris and her presidential bid, flattering her, saying, "Our favorite, if you can call it that, was the current president, Mr. Joe Biden, but he was removed from the race, and he recommended all his supporters to support Miss Harris. Well, we will do so. We will support her. She laughs so expressively and infectiously that it means that she is doing well." He also criticized Donald Trump for placing, quote, so many restrictions and sanctions against Russia like no other president has ever introduced before him, with his comments coming on the heels of sweeping sanctions announced by the Biden administration to combat a Russian government-backed disinformation effort to influence the 2024 elections and boost Trump's candidacy. And it is clear that Putin is simply trying to troll and stir the pot of US domestic politics with these statements. He doesn't actually believe them. This coming from a guy that loved House of Cards so much that he recommended it to his ministers. And if Putin's take on US election politics is seen through the lens of House of Cards, then Putin's support of Harris is a sort of Frank Underwood move, a kind of endorsement poisonous to its recipient. But even that had nothing on this next brutal moment where Trump made quite possibly his worst and most fatal error to date that left his crowd speechless.
Can you imagine you're a parent and your son leaves the house and you say, Jimmy, I love you so much, go have a good day in school, and your son comes back with a brutal operation? Can you even imagine this? What the hell is wrong with our country?
And you could hear a pin drop in that crowd as Donald Trump started those statements of, could you imagine sending your kid to school, mere days after yet another mass school shooting in Atlanta, Georgia, that left 4 people dead. And he uses it to flame a transphobic culture war issue while standing behind bulletproof glass. And this just after J.D. Vance made these equally insane and disrespectful remarks just the other day.
Now look, the Kamala Harris answer to this is to take law-abiding American citizens' guns away from them. That is what Kamala Harris wants to do. She says, look, I don't like this. I don't like to admit this. I don't like that this is a fact of life. But if you are a psycho and you want to make headlines, you realize that our schools are soft targets. And we have got to bolster security at our schools so that a person who walks through the front door, we've got to bolster security so that if a psycho wants to walk through the front door and kill a bunch of children, they're not able to. And again, as a parent, do I want my kids' school to have additional security? No, of course I don't. I don't want my kids to go to school in a place where they feel like you've got to have additional security, but that is increasingly the reality that we live in.
And that is rich, coming from the guy and the party who vehemently and repeatedly oppose gun control measures, calling school shootings inevitable and a fact of life while standing behind bulletproof glass giving their speeches. And maybe you're wondering, oh, why doesn't Donald Trump just give his rallies inside where there's heightened security and less chances for a shooter to ping him in the ear? Well, that's because many cities won't even let Donald Trump hold rallies inside venues because he doesn't pay them. And look, as disgusting and terrible as both of these men are, it seems like even the MAGA lunatics crazy enough to go and attend these rallies in person are finally realizing Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and the Republican Party writ large couldn't give a damn about the safety of any American's children's, with maybe the exception of their own. And frankly, I couldn't think of a more poignant way to put this whole thing than this Instagram user Nikita Dumptruck did in her video just after the shooting happened.
If your child comes home in drag, you're lucky. If your child comes home with new pronouns and blue hair, you're lucky. If your child comes home quoting Malcolm X because that's what they learned in their critical race theory class, you're lucky. If your child comes home, you're lucky.
Thanks for watching, folks. For Really American, I'm Kenny Hess, and I'll see you all in the next one.